So, let's do the intro,
Okay.
which is state your name. Sorry, I thought I heard something. Just state your name and maybe like where you live. And I also like to ask people a silly question, which is, what's your favorite dessert? So name, where you live, where we are, and your favorite dessert.
Okay. Well, I'm Cheryl Johnson. I am from Decorah, Iowa. We're sitting right now in the entrance of Decorah's Ice Cave. I am the chair of the Iowa Grotto, and my favorite dessert, anything with chocolate, generally.
A common answer.
Yeah.
Okay, so for people who don't know what a grotto is.
Yes. So we are an organized group of cavers. We are affiliated, we are the Iowa chapter of the National Speleological Society. So it's a group of people that explore, preserve, and conserve all of the caves in the state of Iowa and the surrounding areas.
That's so cool. I didn't know that you guys were like for the whole state.
We are. We're the only grotto in the state of Iowa.
Wow.
Yep. So we have cavers that come from Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, and Missouri.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay, so even for people in Iowa, like I've lived here only for 2 years, but I was super surprised to hear that there's actual like real caves here. Do you get that response a lot?
We do, because most of Iowa does not look like the landscape we are currently sitting in. There's a small percentage of Iowa that is karst, which is where caves form. And the reason that we have karst is because we're sitting in the driftless area of Iowa.
Okay. And just to get into the big topic of driftless, again, I always try to think about how things sound to people from far away. Like if someone in Europe is watching this and their first question is driftless, what does that mean?
But it means that the glaciers didn't actually come through this area. So in the last ice age, the glacial went kind of around us. So we don't have this glacial till in this area, which is what's giving us these beautiful limestone bluffs. It missed us.
Okay.
And it missed a significant portion of, southern Minnesota and Wisconsin as well.
Okay, so if the glaciers had drifted through here, would it look different?
Completely. We wouldn't have this exposed Ordovician limestone bluffs. It would look more like the rest of Iowa, which is covered under glacial till, and sediment. You wouldn't have this beautiful exposure that we have here. This would have all been wiped out by the glaciers themselves.
That's crazy.
It is.
Just to think that they're that powerful.
They are.
Yeah.
And it's like that, when you go up into Wisconsin and Minnesota as well. If you drive through any of the driftless area, it looks completely different than the landscape around it.
Do we, in our modern era, know why it didn't drift here? Like,
Not sure.
Okay.
I honestly, I just know it didn't. I don't know why it didn't, but it didn't.
Okay.
And I'm really happy that it didn't, because we have this amazing little gem.
That's wild. So like this whole, you can't see it on camera, but I'll show it later, but like this bluff, how much higher does it go above our heads here?
Oh man.
Is it like another 70 feet or?
At least, and then this is actually just one step of it. There's actually another step up even higher than that. So we're, a couple 100 feet below the top of the
So
bluff.
the glaciers, the grinding power of the glaciers were enough to knock that down, weren't they?
Correct.
That is so cool.
And then of course the Upper Iowa River, which is just below us, is what has gone through and carved this valley that we are sitting in.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Correct.
Okay.
So a lot of the exposed bluffs that you're seeing is because we have the Upper Iowa River that's coming through this area, and other rivers and streams in the area as well.
Ah, okay. Can you tell us a bit about, and I'll say this a number of times, I can edit this out because I don't want to be so on the nose, but I really just want to say this, and then you can tell me if you want me to leave it in. But so I've caved a little bit compared. I've caved more than most people who have never caved, but nothing like as much as you have. But in all of my caving and all the different grottos members that I've met in different parts of the country, I've actually never met a female caver.
Oh, really? That's
Yeah.
too bad, because we're the best.
And so, would you mind just sharing a bit about, have you noticed that is it true that there's not many female cavers?
I would actually say no, that's not true at all. Some of the most amazing people that I have met are female cavers that have been caving most of their life. And actually, up and coming, we have a lot of female cavers. A lot of the younger generation are young women that are getting involved in different STEM, whether it's chemistry, biology, geology, and they, for whatever reason, have a project that leads them into caving, and they become bit by the cave bug, as we call it, and become cavers.
Okay, well, why? Because I'm trying to connect those two things in my mind. Biology, chemistry, and there was a third one you mentioned.
And geology.
Geology fits, but how does biology and chemistry relate to caves?
Oh, well, so there can be many ways that it can relate to caves. Chemistry, you can be looking at water chemistry, which is, like more of a hydrological field and hydrology. You could be looking at air chemistry, the chemistry of the air. You could be looking at the chemistry of the minerals that are in the caves as well. And biology, well, we have cave adapted species, and we have species that use the caves for their homes, like bats. So biologists can go into a cave if they're looking at bats in particular, and they can actually count bat roosts of a maternity roost and look at how healthy that is, or go into a winter bat hibernaculum and count bats in that hibernation and look at how healthy, again, that colony can be. And a lot of insects can live into the caves as well as cave adapted species. You can get into some of, not necessarily quite around this area, but when you get into other parts of the country, there are species of fish, crayfish, and different types of animals that have actually evolved over the years to be blind and colorless, because they spend their entire lives. They are born in the cave, spend their entire lifespan in that cave, and biologists can go in and study. Same with different types of bacteria. You don't think of bacteria as being something that people would want to study, but there's different forms of bacteria that can grow in the cave.
And they're different than what we have out
correct,
here.
Correct. And so biologists and chemists can go in and study and see, is that something that maybe could be an antibiotic later in life? Is there something about why is this present, and what can we do with it? You also can get some astrobiology, which is...
Okay, wait. Say what now? What are you talking about?
Astrobiology. We actually have a team.
Define that first.
So astrobiology is more looking at what can we determine about life and the way things were formed in our own Earth that we can apply to off-world. So whether it be other planets, other moons, and things of that nature, it could be something that you could use to explain how something formed on another planet.
That is a really cool concept.
It is a very cool concept.
Going underground to understand more about what's off planet.
Yep.
That is... I've never heard that. That is a trip.
So, we have a whole team of people that actually come in from a local university, and they are the astrobiology underground team.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
Okay, I want to go back to and just reflect that I really love it that there's so many young women getting involved or are involved with caving. I'm relieved to hear that it's not just guys, that so many different folks are getting involved in it. Is there a certain age demographic that you find is caving like just for younger people?
No, I have caved with people that are in their teens. I have caved with people that are in their upper 70s and 80s even.
Wow.
It's kind of it's very diverse. And actually it's wonderful that we do have that, because a lot of what we learn can be from the older generation of cavers. It's, this tribal knowledge that's disseminated down through the ranks, and it really gives you a appreciation of what has come before you, and it makes you really want to make sure that you are doing things the right way.
So how did you get involved? At
In caving?
what age did you?
Honestly, it hasn't been all that long for me.
Okay.
I have always wanted to be involved. I grew up in this beautiful little area, and being in Karst topography of Iowa, one of the main features of Karst is sinkholes.
Okay.
And I grew up on a family farm where we have many, in fact, I think at last count 27 to 29 sinkholes on our family farm.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, so when we talked about this before, you're like, oh, we had sinkholes on our property. I thought you meant like 2.
No.
Or like
No.
3.
No. Many.
Wow.
And the sinkholes, you know, when you're farming in this community, a lot of the sinkholes are, you know, you farm around the outside of the sinkholes. So you have trees that are left growing up out of those sinkholes. So when you're out on the family farm, you end up saying, okay, well, I need to find a place of shade. Where's the shade at? It's by the sinkholes.
Yeah.
So you can sit at these sinkholes and you can actually hear water running through them and be like, what is that? What is that from? So that kind of made me curious. And then
can I interrupt there?
Yeah.
How old were you when you heard the first water under the ground?
I mean, probably that I remember, maybe 5 or 6.
Wow.
Yeah.
So cool.
It
In
wasn't,
grade school.
Yes. So it wasn't until grade school that I actually understood what that meant as far as what could have possibly created or what could be underneath these sinkholes. Our elementary school actually took us on field trips, and one of the field trips that they took us to was up to Minnesota's Niagara Cave, which is a public tour cave. And the very beginning of that tour, we're going down these wonderful steps, and the tour guide stops and says, well, what we're doing is we're actually standing in a sinkhole right now. And my little brain went, aha, that's what's underneath the ground in sinkholes. So it wasn't until that connection where I just became fascinated with caves. Life has a funny way of not allowing you to always do the things that you want to be able to do. So now that my family, my kids are all out of school and college age or older, I can finally do the things that I was interested in doing, which is, of course, caving.
So how long ago did you start? How many years ago?
It's not been all that long. With the Iowa Grotto, let's see, it's been 6 years, 5 years.
Wow.
So not all that long, truthfully.
And in those
but I've done a lot.
Yeah, in those 6 years, could you offer listeners and viewers sort of a list of different caves that you've been lucky enough to experience?
I can tell you where I've been, because a lot of caves are on private land, and landowners don't want people to know that they're there. There's a reason.
Actually, let's talk about those reasons.
Yeah, well, vandalism being one. You get a lot of people that if people find out, oh, there's a cave, let's just go there, and they don't ask for permission. They can go in. They get injured if they are not properly equipped and they don't understand, the technical difficulties that are within that cave and the environmental hazards. So a lot of landowners say, no, I don't want my cave destroyed. I don't want people just showing up randomly on my property and getting injured on my property. And even though Iowa law actually protects landowners who do have caves, so if somebody is on that land, it kind of falls into the hunters.
Okay.
Correct. The
it's
law.
On you.
It's on you. As long as somebody's not charging you to be there, it's on you.
Yeah.
So it holds the landowners. Without any sort of liability. It limits liability, which is important, especially for us when we're asking landowners, hey, can we go in on your property? And we do get people that they want maps of the caves, so we will go in and actually survey and map those caves. And I've been doing that in a lot of other places. I've been south into Kentucky in the Missouri area. I get up in north into Minnesota, into some of the caves there. Wisconsin, as well as, I go farther places, like Idaho, and getting trips down into the Southwest area where you deal with, different types of caves there, which are hypogenic caves. which means they've been created from the groundwater up. Which
No,
is,
I didn't know that.
oh yeah, yeah.
I never heard that phrase.
A hypogenic cave.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're dealing with like a hydrogen sulfide that's mixing with oxygen-rich
Oh.
water and creating sulfuric acid and
Okay.
eating these caves away. So you
Okay.
get a completely different type of caving environment there as well.
Well, I liked it that you raised the point about secrecy or privacy, because it reminds me that when I've met other grotto members and I've reached out sort of naively and be like, I'm ready to go caving, like 20 years ago.
Yep.
I'd reach out to local grotto and I'd be like, hey, can you tell me where the cave is?
And they'll say no.
They'll say, no, man. Can you just talk briefly, if someone's watching this and they're inspired, what's the right way to go about this?
Really, if you're interested in getting involved in caving, reach out to your local grotto and say, how can I get involved with you?
Okay.
Because grottos, we want to teach people, because if you're interested in caves, we want to make sure that you're properly equipped and you have the proper knowledge to be able to navigate the cave that you're going into. And the best way to do that is to be involved with us. There's a couple of different types of cavers. You've got grottos that are recreational grottos, which means they just go in for the fun of it, and want to see the caves. Then you have project cavers.
Yeah,
Which
I've only met up with recreational
yeah,
ones
so we're
Yeah.
more of a project caving oriented grotto, meaning that we're actively doing something in that cave, whether it's biological, like looking at bat hibernaculums and insects and what have you.
Oh, and like the astrobiology team you mentioned.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So they
And-
reached out to you, to
Yep.
your grotto.
To our grotto that says, hey, can you safely take us into these places so we
Okay.
can do studies?
Cool.
So we're kind of the people that can help do that properly.
Okay.
But with project caving, we're producing a product, like we're surveying and mapping a cave.
Why do we need surveys and maps?
Well, some people just want it because they want to know what's in their cave, but also, thinking about, if you're in a cave, what's on top of you? What about the infrastructure that can lie on top of you? If you know that there's a cave that's there, it can actually, change where maybe infrastructure is going to be put on top.
I got you. Okay.
Whether it's agricultural, industrial, whatever, it can kind of show there's something fragile underneath here and an ecosystem that needs to be preserved. That's not a good site for that.
Okay.
And it's and other things, you have tour caves, show caves, things like that. They want to know exactly, how long is their cave. The only way to know how long their cave is to survey that cave.
Oh, and hopefully this isn't getting too deep in the weeds, but can you talk about the difference between a show cave and like a different type of cave that's still being explored?
Sure. So it's actually a lot of times they can overlap. So a show
Okay.
cave is a cave that's generally privately owned, and they have tours. So they're charging people tours, and they have this tour structure and this infrastructure in the cave with lighting and trails
So you
and
don't
railings.
need any of your own equipment generally.
Correct.
You just...
It's the general public that you can go and buy a ticket to and go and see. And we have, privately owned ones, but there's also show caves that are, National Park Service show caves. So like Mammoth Cave, for example, which is the longest cave in the world at 426 miles long and is consistently being
Good Lord.
mapped to this
didn't know
day.
that.
Yes.
Wow.
There's only a very small percentage of that cave that the general public will ever see.
Okay, so that's a good illustration point.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just realizing. So you don't have to contact a grotto member to go into the show cave portion
Correct.
of that. But if you wanted to do
If you want to
the
do
rest-
something that's off the tour trail,
Okay.
some show caves and national park caves and things have wild cave tours. So if somebody's really interested in wanting to learn what it's like to cave, I highly suggest contacting that local cave in that area and signing up for one of their wild cave tours.
Oh, it's really cool.
They outfit you with all the correct equipment and take you in spots where you're going to be with just your headlamp and crawling and squeezing through different areas and know what it's like to be a little bit of what it's like to be off trail caving.
Awesome.
And if you love that, get a hold of your local grotto, and they can help figure out, hey, yeah, come hang out with us.
All right. So now we've come full circle to talking about where we are right now. And I'm just going to do a quick pan. You can just stay there.
Sure.
And actually, Mike's probably good enough to where. So when I'm aiming this camera way up high on the bluff, what is it that I'm seeing up there in terms of like time periods?
You're looking at Ordovician limestone right here.
This is Ordovician limestone. Okay. Do you know like what years we're talking about?
No.
Okay. but basically what blows my mind is what we're looking at up here. That's newer formation.
Correct.
Than like where you're sitting right now.
Correct.
So the higher you go, the newer it is.
Correct.
And the lower you go, the older it is. Okay. Okay. Oh wait, let me get this back. Okay. So that's really, I don't know, that's just fascinating to me. So uphill is newer, downhill is older. So, and then we're next to this ice cave right here.
Correct.
So how, like the reason I'm meeting you here in Decorah and the reason you can be into caving in Decorah is unique to this area. Why are there caves in Decorah?
Because we are sitting in Karst.
Okay.
Karst is the topography and the landscape in which caves can form. And it's because of all of this lovely limestone that caves can form, whether it's solutional caves from the water, or if it's in a lot of instances you get some, limestone fissure caves where there's cracks in the limestone that have opened up.
Well, I just went in this cave here, and I don't know if this applies. Let me know if it doesn't. But when I went in there, I only went in like 10 feet because then it got dark, obviously, and I didn't have anything with me. But I heard water dripping.
Yes, and that's dripping from up above.
Is that water part of why there's a cave here?
Yes and no.
Is this more of a limestone fissure?
This is more of a limestone fissure than it is a solutional cave.
Okay.
But that water dripping is why it's an ice cave.
Okay. So a solutional cave, what is that? How does
That's
it
where the
form?
water has eroded the rock over time and left the gap, whether it's coming in from flooding, from rivers and streams, underground streams that are cutting through the rock, or whether it's solutional from the top down, where you've got the water that's making its way through all of these limestone cracks and slowly dissolving it over time.
Why do they call it solutional?
That's basically eating the cave away,
Okay.
because it's picking up the different minerals and it's getting more acidic as it goes down, and it's actually eating slowly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so it's just that the karst has some sort of properties that allow it to get eaten away, and it creates these big cavities.
If you look at all of the cracks in this particular limestone that we're looking at now.
Yeah.
It allows the water to come all the way through there.
Okay.
Limestone's very porous.
Okay.
So the water can make its way through
Okay.
and actually dissolve that cave.
Okay.
Dissolve it over time and create a cave.
Now the way that we met was, I'll say, like a good traditional right way to get into the local caves is someone said you should reach out to Cheryl and some other members of the local grotto, and they were like, if you really want to see a cool cave, you need to check out Coldwater Cave.
Yes.
So, and we had a chance to go in. Can you basically sort of describe what it looks like in there? And of course, I'll have footage, but what does it look like in there? How would you describe it?
Coldwater is unlike any other cave in this area. The mainstream passage of Coldwater is the size of a subway tunnel. It is a very young cave. It's a very
Do you all want to come up? Okay.
It's a very young cave and a very active cave, meaning that the formations are still forming. There's water that's constantly depositing on top of these formations and causing them to grow. And it's a very decorated cave, which you saw everywhere you looked. It was just, there was something to see. And it's very unique to just this area. It's very unique even for this area, truthfully.
Yeah. I mean, so you and I and another person got to go in, And yeah, it was pretty mind-blowing
Yeah.
because it's so huge.
It's very
It
big.
really is about the size of a massive subway
It
tunnel.
is. It is.
And there's an underground river. Can you talk about like where that water comes from? Do we know?
Well, there's as you know, when we were walking through there, you could see all these little teeny tiny feeder springs that are coming in. You know, part of Karst topography is these disappearing springs, where springs can, you know, you have all these lovely little springs that come up, and all of a sudden they just disappear and they go underground. Why do they go underground? Well, because there's a spot there where the water, it takes the path of least resistance, and that's the path of least resistance, and it's going through and it's cutting out these beautiful caves that are under our feet, which is pretty incredible.
Is Coldwater Cave, like I've heard it said, but I'm probably going to get this wrong, but is it the largest cave in the Midwest?
It is the largest cave in the upper Midwest.
Okay.
It's just over 17 miles in mapped tunnels. Now, when I say 17 miles, it's not 17 miles in one straight shot. That's a very big common misconception. When we say 17 miles of mapped tunnel, it's showing that every single passage that spider webs off of the main chamber has been mapped, and the total footage of that mapped cave is just over 17 miles.
So I feel like though the public would be really interested in learning what the access to this cave is like, because you know, I've like here with this ice cave.
You've got this big, beautiful natural entrance.
We walk into it.
Yes.
How do we walk into Coldwater Cave?
Well, Coldwater Cave's a different beast. It's what we call a closed system. There's no natural air entrance to Coldwater Cave. The way it was actually found was based on a rumor that there was a cave. And there was a couple of gentlemen that decided they were going to investigate this rumor back in the 60s, 1967. And they followed this cold water stream to the bluff, just like we're at now, but there was water coming out of this bluff. And they decided they were going to free dive and try to go underneath this bluff.
To see where the water was coming from.
To see where did the water come from. And they ended up popping out into a room eventually. That, again, would be a good size room, but then the water would sump again, meaning that the water would actually hit the wall and you couldn't go any further. So they decided, you know, they were going to come back with scuba gear, and they did. And they followed that water through another sump, and popped out into the mainstream passage that you and I were actually in. So today we don't do that.
Because that is super duper dangerous.
Super duper dangerous.
Yeah.
In fact, that is gated, so nobody can do that.
Okay.
However, the Iowa Geological Survey in 1972 contacted local landowners and said, "Hey, can we make a safe access into this cave for study?" And they were studying it to see if maybe they could make it into a state cave, an Iowa state cave.
So like a show cave.
Like a show cave for Iowa,
Okay.
for like an Iowa State Park.
Yeah.
And it required a significant amount of study to be able to determine whether or not that was going to happen. And obviously they needed a safer way to access than scuba diving. So one of the local landowners said, sure.
Yeah.
So in 1972, a shaft was drilled into a portion of cave that they determined from the original cave survey that would be a acceptable place with very little damage to the natural formations in the cave. It was actually a fairly undecorated portion of the passage, and it was 100 feet straight down.
Straight down.
So they drilled
Wow.
specifically, I think it was like 94 or 96, but they drilled straight down and found, yep, this is a good spot that we're going to put a wider entrance. So that entrance today is still there. It's 30 inches in diameter, and it has a ladder that's going that almost 100 feet straight down into it. And that is how we get in and out of that cave to this day.
And it's no joke of a climb.
It is no joke of a climb.
Yeah.
And
you guys told me it would get tiring, and I was like, Psh, I'm fit. But yeah, it is exhausting.
It is exhausting.
And
And when you're in the cave, because it is a cold water cave, the temperature of that cave, it's 47 degrees all year round as far as the air temperature, but the water temperature can fluctuate significantly depending on the time of year. If you're there in February, that water temperature can be 40 degrees. If you're there in the middle of summer, it can be 50, 51 degrees, but not exactly warm. So we actually are required to wear wetsuits and other protective gear to be able to keep us warm in there so that we don't die of hypothermia while we're walking through these big stream passages.
Yeah.
And it's your body is constantly trying to stay warm, which is exhausting in itself. But then being in the cave, climbing up and over breakdown and things of that nature and walking against the current also can wear you out very quickly. And then on top of it, because it's a closed system, there's no big open air entrances. You get some CO2, carbon dioxide buildup in there. So you can feel like you're working a little bit hard. It can almost be like you're at altitude at times with the amount of CO2 that you're breathing in, depending on the time of year. So all of those factors can tire you out so that when you go to climb back up that shaft at the end of a cave trip, you're tired and you get up and you're breathing. You're like, man, I'm out of shape. And it's like, no, it's not an easy cave.
Okay. So here's a big geology question that I had. So I spent the last 3 days up in Door County Peninsula in Wisconsin.
Sure.
So I'm on the shores of Lake Michigan, way out at this point.
Yep.
And I'm looking along the shoreline, and I'm seeing all sorts of mollusk fossils, bivalve fossils. I've seen crinoid fossils right there.
Very readily available to you.
Very readily available. Now that's at the surface.
Correct.
Now, when I went into this cave with you guys, you were telling me that some parts of the ceiling had, some of the big heavy slabs of rock above had collapsed and
essentially peeled off at a fossil level.
And you showed me some photos where the same things that I saw on the shore up in Lake Michigan are there, but they're 100 feet under the ground.
Correct.
Okay, so when I'm standing in Coralville, which is right near my home, and I'm looking down and I can see like all sorts of cool fossils and everything, is that at the same type of like elevation as the stuff that we could see in Coldwater Cave?
Essentially, yes. The difference being is the fact that, again, the glaciers actually went through the Coralville area. And they cut through and bulldozed a lot of what we're seeing here out and deposited glacial till on top of it. So when you're at the Fossil Gorge in Coralville, that was exposed by flooding. The flooding actually washed away that topsoil and exposed
I think it was like 30 feet of topsoil or something.
Yeah, it was a pretty impressive amount. So all of that sedimentary deposit that was glacial till that was deposited on top was washed away by the flooding.
So where we're sitting right now, if you had to guess, how far down would we have to go to get to the stuff you see in Coldwater Cave that's like the Silurian deposits or Devonian deposits?
I think...
Because I know we're kind of high up here.
We are. I wouldn't be able to venture a guess, depending, because I don't know what's really technically underneath me.
Okay.
But, in Coldwater, they appear at that, 100-foot level. Now, in Decorah, you can even find, exposed dry creek beds that have, all this deposits, and you can find crinoid fossils and things like that, even in dry creek beds around this whole area.
Interesting.
We could walk through the talus slope that we're finding now and possibly find the crinoids as well. It's not just necessarily one specific deposit. There could be multiple deposits that have...
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, that can be exposed.
Okay. So let's talk about... I've mentioned Silurian Sea a lot, and I realize we haven't defined it yet, or the Devonian Silurian. Can you sort of describe to us if right now the Silurian Sea suddenly came back, where would we be right now?
We'd be closer to the equator.
Okay.
And we would be a lot warmer, and we would be covered in a shallow sea.
Okay.
The whole area was a shallow sea that was teeming with different life, and all of that life then caused this sedimentary deposit that we are seeing now.
So we're sitting on top of sediment. All these layers to our side here are...
Correct.
All these crazy layers of just a bajillion years of little critters raining down.
Exactly.
That's insane. Okay. Let's see. I think suddenly I ran out of questions. Is there anything else that you wished I had asked, or anything else you would like to share about anything in general related to caving or grottos? Or...
As far as, caving, be safe and follow safe caving guidelines. In those guidelines, you can actually look up on the National Speleological Society website. That's where also you can locate your local grotto if you've decided you want to get into caving. But they have some really good tips about, so you want to be a caver, follow those guidelines. It is the very basics of how to get into caving safely and caving what we call softly, basically causing no damage, and making sure that you don't get into a situation you can't get out of. Definitely, if you're interested in caves and caving, get a hold of your local grotto. Reach out. There's tons of grottos within the whole country, so no matter where you're at, you should be able to find some sort of a local grotto.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
And that's the end of the interview.
Perfect.